Okay. Okay, what I want to do is I want to go back to what we were saying last week, and I'm going to give it more gravitas. And I'm going to go back to the same thing that we did before, 19th lowly Gaussian composite. The 19th lowly Gaussian composite is 389, as we saw last time. 389 is also an emir. That means if you write it backwards, you're going to get another prime number. And the emir is 983. Okay. So 983 is the 114th Chen prime. So these three bullets, the first three bullets tells you that mere fact that this 19 here is generating the number of chapters in the Quran. Okay. Can you imagine that? Okay. 983 also happens to be the 166 prime number. We talked about 106 before. Last week we talked about it. Okay. There it is. Frequency of Hamim in chapter 44. Okay. It tells you that 166 is a part of the Quran. 166, 114, right there. Okay. 983 is also the 41st lonely Gaussian prime. And it happens that 41st super prime is 1063. But 1063 tri-prime is 4154, and Surah 41 has 54 verses. Remember now, this 166, last week, we showed that lined up with 324. 4154, chapter 41 has 54 verses. It happens that the number of Hamim in chapter 41 happens to be 324. Okay? So we just go on. So again, I have that thing here in front of you, okay, that same table. Index of twin prime, index of composite, Gaussian prime, index of prime, and twin prime, Gaussian prime, and prime, 2143. So from 2143, we generated all of these things. First, 133 is 19 times 7. First of all, it tells you there are 7 Hamim initial chapters. That's what it tells you. Okay? All right. 197 emir happens to be 9127. Again, chapter 9 has 127 verses. It's a very simple thing, very simple relation. 422nd prime happens to be 2917, and the 90th permutation of 2917 is 9127. Okay? God does not let this go. He's going to come back to this number, okay, and now let's see here. And 2917 is the 11th permutation of 9127, okay, and 19 times 11 is 209. But 209 Gaussian composite is also 2917, okay. So, if you look at chapter 42 in the Quran, you notice that 42.2 actually is Ain Sin Qaf. Okay, that's the only chapter that has 2 sets of initials. Okay, so the books that are written otherwise, the Quran texts that are written, chapter 40, 41, 42, which actually combines Hamim, Ain, Sin, Qaf together, is wrong. This tells you that. And 209 happens to be actually the number of Ain, Sin, Qaf in that chapter. Okay, 2917. Okay. As I said, are these indices 209 and 422 lining up? And they both are semi-primes. 209 happens to be the 68th semi-prime, while 422 happens to be the 133 semi-prime. Note that Surah 68 has 133 verses. Can you believe that? I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing, the story that these lines are telling us, one after another. Okay. So when I told you we are not going to count and come back to some kind of conclusions. No. These things are generating and telling us where these things are supposed to be. Okay. So when we counted these things, 19 times 11 was good for us, 209. We never thought about 422 and how 422 tells you that Einstein is supposed to be 42 too. Okay. How they're supposed to tell you what the number of noons in chapter 68 is supposed to be. This is what he's telling you. Okay. Why 2917 is the 11th permutation? Why 9127 is the 19th permutation? Because this is 209. 19 times 11 is 209. That's why it was 11. Okay, think about it. It wasn't just grab something and say, oh, this is divisible by 19. That was yesterday's news. Today, we know a lot more. Okay? So, then we find out about these things. 209 happens to be the 68th prime, while 422 happens to be 133. The relation between 133 and chapter 68 is awesome. It tells you that 133 is the number of nodes in chapter 68. What else do we expect? That's what we have to think about, okay, very deeply, and be grateful to the source again. Okay. This information is not available to everybody. And if it is available, they don't care. This is designed by the Almighty. Okay? So as I said, when you see that chapter 41 has 54 verses, there is a reason for it. Okay. There is a reason for that. Reason is awesome. Okay. So again, when we saw all of these things, every week we see more and more of this whole thing, and we can understand it. We can actually present it better to the public out there. And that's the key. Okay. And so this is the generator of the Quran that God has given us. He's given us no matter what. Okay. You cannot destroy this book. Because we have the mother book. That's what God is telling us. The mother book is there. And that mother book is not going to go away. And the mathematics is only known to God and no one else. Because these relations that I'm telling you are not based on equations. Okay? That's the only thing we know of mathematics, how to solve equations. And some of those equations we cannot solve. Pi, for example, is not root of any algebraic equation. Transcendental number. Okay? So you can have them in series. The series just keeps on going. It just gives you a more and more and more accurate value of pi, but you never know what the value of pi is. That's just a glimpse of a universe, a metaverse, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? A multiverse, which all of these universes are inside this whole thing. In that universe, the laws are not based on mathematical equations. The prime numbers are a simple, brilliant way of showing that.